Thanks for coming out today for You Are What Your Food Ate. Everything you've been taught about healthy eating is wrong. How many of y'all are confused about food, what is healthy, what to eat, what not to eat? I'm not asking you all to accept everything I have to say today. This is completely open-ended. I want you to just listen. You can take it, you can leave it. I only ask that you put it on the shelf, anything that you might reject. Anything that you're not sure about, just set it on the shelf, because there may be a time you want to pull it off the shelf and you may want to incorporate it or try it out. I have been challenged by every single thing I'm going to talk about today. Every single thing. It has upended and completely given me a 360 degree turn in the way I look at what is healthy, what I thought was healthy. And because now it's about getting into the latest medical research and scientific findings around nutrition and what goes on in our body and the way our body is designed through evolution. 2.6 million years of evolution. We don't want to fight the river. I love talking about river reports. What is a river report? The river's flowing one way. I've learned a long time ago, it doesn't do any good to swim upstream no matter what you believe. I don't care what my beliefs are, I need to be where the river's going, because the river always wins. And I want to try and take some of the mystery out of all the food that is out there today. You are what your food ate. Everything we've been taught about healthy eating is wrong. It's a big statement, but hang in here with me. This is one of the most foundational statements from Hippocrates. Let thy food be thy medicine, and thy medicine be thy food. How many of us have ever thought about eating our meds as opposed to taking them? Because what we find in the grocery aisles, on the ends, not on the center aisles, is where we find our medicines. Well, this has been very empowering for Janet and I to learn to eat our meds and not to take them. How many of y'all have animals? When you take them to the vet and you say you got a problem, what's usually the first question a vet asks you? What are you feeding it? Yes. How many have heard that from your doctor? What have you been feeding it? Now, when I say it, our body, I am going to make a distinction here. You don't have to accept what I'm going to say. This is my personal belief, but I believe that we're souls that have a body. We are not our body, but we are souls that have a body. And this body is our vehicle, it's our car while we're here down here in schoolroom earth. And if that's the case, how many of y'all still have your owner's manual? Nobody? Well, I'm going to try and reconstruct our owner's manual today on just one part of it, of what is our best fuel. What is the best thing we can put in our body to make it work? Because this is the only one we get this lifetime, so we have to take care of this right now. So what have you been feeding it might be one of the most important questions when you start to see what's going on in your body, you start to have a reaction, is to listen to your body. Food safety does not exist in this country. And what I'm going to be talking about today is clean food. What is clean to eat and what is toxic? And this is actually a very political issue, what I'm talking about. But it's a political issue where right and left, Republicans and Democrats can come together and agree on. It's about food safety because it is the tobacco issue of the 21st century. Because our food is so deeply contaminated, it's so deeply compromised, and we need to be aware of it. We are eating things we think are healthy that are actually not for us. So the bad news is that we have a contaminated food supply. The good news is we are the solution. We are the solution. This is a real bottom-up power type of situation. We can't expect this change to come from the government or from the corporations. It comes from consumer demand. And it comes one person, one bite, one fork at a time.
So let's explore some of the ways that we are the solution. You can't exercise your way out of a bad diet. We've always heard that if we wanted to lose weight, all we had to do was exercise more and eat less. That it was a 50-50 equation, but it's not. That just doesn't work. And there's reasons why. A calorie eaten is a calorie spent, and a calorie burned is a calorie earned. Calories eaten accumulate much faster than calories burned, just as it is easier to spend money than it is to earn it. We can eat 1,000 calories easily in 5 to 15 minutes, but it will take us 2 hours or more of exercise to burn those calories off. You can't exercise your way out of a bad diet. Why? Waistline issues are food issues. They are not exercise issues. You cannot lose weight through more exercise alone. Eating habits must also be changed. It's easier to cut our expenses than it is to increase our income, isn't it? Well, guess what? The same is true with calories. It's easier to cut calories eaten than it is to increase exercise, meaning calories burned. But there's more to it than just that. There are 6 components to our health, not just food and exercise alone, because we ingest and digest each of these 6 components for our health. And those are food, exercise, negative stress, positive and negative emotions, sleep, and the environment. Why is food so important? The American food supply is deeply contaminated. Sugar, processed carbs, industrial proteins and fat, GMOs, genetically modified organisms, and grains are toxic and inflammatory to our body. And those comprise 70% of the American diet today. Processed foods are engineered to be addictive with sugar, salt, and fat. Eliminating sugar, processed carbs, and grains can eliminate our food addictions and eating with our emotional swings. The low-fat, high-carbohydrate diet of the past 40 years is killing us because it is opposite of how we have evolved over the past 2.6 million years. And the larger truth is, food can kill us slowly or it can cure us fast. Now, the standard American diet is loaded with petroleum fertilizers, herbicides, pesticides, antibiotics, growth hormones, GMOs, genetically modified organisms, and frankenfoods. Why is exercise so important? Well, exercise and clean food together are our greatest combatants against toxic food and any negative impact from the environment. Exercise builds up our immune system. Exercise helps us sleep better. Exercise balances out our emotions. Exercise is great for de-stressing. Exercise can reduce hunger and appetite, and that's what Jan and I have always noted, is that when we work out, we're never as hungry as when we don't work out or we're not as active. Exercise buys us extra calories if we want to eat more or if we want to try and lose a little weight. Our bodies are designed for movement 8 to 10 hours a day. And that's why it's so crucial that we stay in motion for our health throughout our life. And exercise helps us do that. Why is negative stress so important? It can throw us off our best diet, habits, mindset, and peace of mind. Negative stress interferes with our sleep. It triggers all kinds of negative emotions, primarily fear. It is a major wake-up call to change something in our life. Now, positive stress is very good for us. It's part of growth and it's part of being on purpose. Why are emotions so important? Emotions make us human, but they can also make us a little crazy. Unresolved hurts and blocked emotions get toxically stored in our body. The drama of big emotional swings throws us out of balance. Most people eat their positive and negative emotional swings. That's called emotional eating. And here's something that's really important about emotions. Emotions are information. And we are to act on the information that those emotions are bringing us, but not on the emotion. It's so important to understand to act on the information, but not to act on nor act out the emotion. We are here to experience all emotions in order to learn compassion and love. Why is sleep so important? It is nature's reset button and restores our energy. Our blood sugar and insulin go down when we're sleeping, and we're burning fat when we wake up in the morning because of that. If we don't get enough sleep, we lack energy and we will overeat. When having afternoon energy crashes, take a nap instead of a snack, if at all possible. And we need 7 to 9 hours of sleep at night in a darkened room with no TVs, computers, or cell phones near us. Why is the environment so important? Because petrochemicals and chemical drugs proliferate America. Air pollution from carbon emissions, from buildings and manufacturing and cars impact us. We have mercury in our fish from contaminated rivers. We have groundwater contamination from industrial food production and manufacturing. We have soil contamination from petroleum fertilizers, herbicides, pesticides, and GMO crops. And the American food is loaded with toxins from these sources and more. What we need for our health is clean air, clean water, clean soil, and clean food. And we are the solution to this in America of bringing about clean air, clean water, clean soil, and clean food. We must be vigilant on each of these 6 pieces and balance all of them of food, exercise, negative stress, emotions, sleep, and the environment. We cannot exercise, de-stress, emote, sleep, or relocate our way out of a bad diet, no matter how high our consciousness is or how much we meditate. Now, you can relocate your way out of a bad diet if you live in America by moving to Europe where the food is clean. But it's a lot cheaper to eat clean here in America than it is to move to Europe. Do you remember when we talked about you can't exercise your way out of a bad diet because it's about 80% food, 20% exercise to get the ratio right? But guess what? When you combine the two together, clean food and exercise are our daily best medicines. And actually what happens is we discover the magic pill for our health. When you put the 2 largest pieces together of clean food and exercise, it helps counteract the negative effects of stress, the effects of positive and negative emotions. It counteracts us not getting enough sleep. It actually helps us get more sleep. It can help counteract the negative effects of the environment. We need to bring together in balance all 6 of these pieces for our optimum health. So what is clean food? Well, that's what the rest of this talk is all about.
It's not our fault that we're fat. It's happened right under our noses. We've been frogged. This is a saying that Jen and I use all the time. You know what it is to be frogged? You put a frog in some warm water, you turn up the heat slowly, and before you know it, the frog has boiled to death. And that's what's been going on in the last 40 years with our food supply here, is that we have slowly been frogged. Changes have been made without us realizing it in the food that we thought was safe, and it's not safe. We're not the problem, but again, we are the solution. So we're going to talk about this. Change your food, change your life. And this comes from one of my great mentors, Socrates. I live by this. Question everything. Constantly learn, and don't ever stay in that comfort zone, because you got to stay in that learning zone. I am drawing on, I'm not making up this stuff, but I am plagiarizing the hell out of a lot of great people. I am borrowing from all the best people I know of, the most cutting-edge doctors, Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Robert Lustig, Dr. William Davis, Dr. David Perlmutter, Dr. Kate Shanahan, Jeffrey Smith, Dr. Joel Furman, Dr. Thomas O'Brien. If you don't know these names yet, you will in time. These are the leading edge around nutrition. I'm also borrowing from Michael Pollan, Dr. Mehmet Oz, and Dr. Oz's show is amazing to watch because he's always bringing these people on there, and he's willing to challenge his own belief systems, and he comes from a conventional medical system, but he's open to all of this, and he's putting this out there the way Oprah has done personal empowerment for every individual in this country and around the planet. Dr. Oz is doing the same thing. Dr. Michael Eads, Dr. Mary Dan Eads, Dr. Stephen Sinatra, Dr. Johnny Bowden, Dr. Eric Westman, The Biggest Loser. Yes, we've learned from this. I actually wanted to go to The Biggest Loser Ranch because so I could learn their model, and it works, but it's very high maintenance because you have to have massive amount of workout, you got to count your calories, and you got to have portion control in order to lose weight and stay healthy. Because you're burning the wrong fuel when you do it that way. You're burning carbohydrates. I'll talk about that. You want to get away from carbohydrates. Norga Gaudis, Sean Croxton, oh my gosh, Sean Croxton, I can't say enough about in his podcast. If you go to iTunes and go to Underground Wellness and start subscribing to Sean Croxton's Underground Wellness, this one person has been our biggest single player in our transformation because he's opened us up to all these other people. Listening to him and listening to what he talks about, it's like going down a rabbit hole into a parallel universe. Tom Naughton, whose brilliant film Fathead, who we have some of his clips in here, is absolutely one of the best teachers on the planet. He's a comedian. Sally Fallon, Dr. Mary Enig, Gary Taubes, John Wood of US Wellness Meets, my incredible wife, Janet, has been one of my constant teachers, and we've been doing this all together. And last, my own body has been teaching me what really works. So this is who I'm drawing from. And what have I learned here? There's some many inconvenient truths I have come across in this process. One of them is this, that our low-fat, high-carbohydrate diet that has been recommended over the last 40 years is literally killing us. It's making us fat. It's making us sick. Yes, I said our low-fat, high-carbohydrate diet. Because if you eat low-fat, you have to eat putting more carbohydrates in your diet. They go together. Because the biggest disservice we've done is to demonize fats and get them out of our daily diet because our bodies are fueled by fats. I'm going to say this many, many more times tonight. You can't exercise your way out of a bad diet. Very important, inconvenient truth. Sugar and processed carbs make us fat and cause our epidemic diseases. Yes, sugar and carbohydrates, because they all become sugar, are the cause of making us fat and making us sick. We are evolutionarily designed to eat meat and saturated fat. Oh my gosh, who says this? How many vegetarians do we have here? How many vegans? Okay, I have been a vegetarian, I have been a vegan, I have been a lot of different things trying it. I absolutely love the vegan principles, and I'm actually a vegan about 2 days a week. Because I'm in complete agreement with not eating industrial meat and how horrible it is. Read the book Skinny Bitch or Skinny Bastard, and you will not touch industrial meat, commercial meat anywhere, because it's so toxic, and plus about the way the animals are treated. But their meat is toxic to our bodies. So I am in complete agreement with vegans and vegetarians around that. But I've learned something about meat. If it's coming from a grass-fed source, oh my gosh, it's like salmon. When you look at the nutrient profile in it, it is amazing. It is so medicinal. I'm coming to that. Cholesterol is vital to our body and brain and does not cause heart disease. Okay, who's about to have a heart attack? Cholesterol does not cause heart disease and does not clog our arteries. Cholesterol does not cause heart disease and does not clog our arteries. That is a bunch of baloney, malarkey. It is not true. The science shows it was never true when it came out and was pushed with the McGovern report in 1977. Fat is our body, our brain, and our heart's best fuel source. Fat is our body, our brain, and our heart's best fuel source. Food can be either medicine or it can be poison. That's going to be all up to us because we are what our food ate. It's not we are what we eat, it's what our food ate that we need to know about. What is in our food? Because that's going to be in our bodies too. Here's something that Dr. Linus Pauling said, optimum nutrition is the medicine of tomorrow. He said this in 1960. He couldn't be more right. Optimum nutrition is the medicine of tomorrow. So what is optimum nutrition? Here's what I think it is. This is my take on trying to understand what Dr. Pauling was talking about, is that optimum nutrition is clean food. What is clean food? Well, first of all, we're going to have to get very conscious about what we eat if we want to bring in clean food, okay? Number one thing we need to know about clean food nutrition is all calories are not equal. Now, we think that all calories, a calorie is a calorie. That's mainstream medicine. It's bogus. All calories are not equal. Every calorie burns differently in your body and in my body because we are not combustion engines. Our bodies are not combustion engines. You just can't put anything in it. You've got to put the right fuel in it. You put the wrong fuel in it, and it's going to gunk up everything. And it's going to show up in your health. It's going to show up in your waistline. It's going to show up everywhere. Here's our original food pyramid, 1992. We saw that. Here's the one we have today. Is there any difference in them? Well, they look different, but there's no difference. They're coming from the exact same paradigm that all calories are equal. And here's the problem. See what's here at the very bottom? Right here? Bread, cereal, rice, and pasta. That's going to be the foundation of our diet. That's our recipe for disaster, being fat and sick. An absolute recipe for it. And if you want to know why we are this way, we have these epidemic diseases going on, it's because that has become the foundation of our diet, and that needs to change. All calories, all carbohydrates, all proteins, all fats, they're not equal. So what could possibly be true here? we're dividing everything horizontally, and that's the problem. We're looking at the different macronutrients, the different proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, and what we need to do is this. We need to correct the food pyramid and split them out. The good calories from the bad calories, the good carbs from the bad carbs, and the good fats from the bad fats. And here's what it looks like. When you start to separate it out, this is what you get. You get one of carbs, proteins, and fats that are basically the toxic feedlot, the hospital model. And those are the ones you want to avoid because those are the ones that do the most damage in our bodies. And over here where we have the healthy body fuel and meds, this is the ones you want to eat and embrace because those are the ones that are going to make you thrive. We're basically talking about moving from survival mode to thrival mode. So that's what it's going to be right here, looking at these two. And now let's make this other distinction. Anything that's refined and processed is going to be over here in the toxic feedlot model. And guess what else happens here? This is 70% of the standard American diet is based on these toxic carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Now, isn't that interesting? Sad. That is exactly what the standard American diet is really, really sad. We can change that, but we can't unless we have the information to help empower us. Melanie Warner has written a great book called Pandora's Lunchbox, How Processed Food Took Over the American Meal. It's been slow. We've been frogged slowly, slowly. Brilliant book by Michael Moss, Salt, Sugar, and Fat, How Food Giants Hooked Us. This is a tremendous expose about what are the big food corporations doing with processed foods. They're engineered in labs with salts, sugars, and fats. They're engineered to hit the opiate receptors in our brain and to make them subtly and still highly addictive where we come back craving their product. Yes, engineered. They're interested in their bottom line, not our bottoms. Gary Taubes has written a brilliant book, quite two of them, exposing good calories from bad calories and why we get fat. Bottom line is, refined, processed carbohydrates are what making us fat. Refined, processed carbohydrates are making all of us fat and sick. So, the low-fat, high-carb diet is killing us. I've talked about that. And I just want you to think about, get away from thinking low-fat. Don't buy low-fat. Don't eat low-fat. You want to bring fat back into your diet, but not just any fat. We'll get there. Here's the wonderful thing coming from Dr. Perlmutter's book, Grain Brain, The Surprising Truth About Wheat, Carbs, and Sugar. The brain's silent killers. If you can read this, the high-carb diet I put you on 20 years ago gave you diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart disease. Whoops! That's what the cartoon is. I love that. It says a lot, doesn't it? Now, Tom Naughton has done a tremendous, very powerful video, maybe the single best video I would say. Go out and buy it from him. You can buy it on Amazon. He's got a web page. It's called Fathead. Look for Fathead the movie. It's absolutely fabulous. I'm going to show you some clips from it. This is give you an idea of what Tom is teaching.
Story we've all heard about weight control goes like this. If you eat more calories than you burn, the extra calories turn to fat. But if you just consume fewer calories or burn more calories by exercising, you create a calorie deficit and you automatically lose weight. It's a nice, simple story, and it's a load of baloney.
But it's more complicated than that, because it's also important what your body decides to do with the calories that you eat.
In his groundbreaking book, Good Calories, Bad Calories, science writer Gary Taubes explains that people who try to starve themselves thin almost never lose as much weight as this equation says they should. And in studies where naturally thin people ate an extra 1,000 calories per day for several months, they barely gained any weight at all. After examining decades of research that obesity experts seem to have completely ignored, Taubes concluded that your body's tendency to store fat is determined by hormones. Most importantly, insulin.
All other things being equal, if you consume the same number of calories, the higher your insulin is, the larger proportion of those calories you will divert towards stored body fat.
If insulin is up and you're not eating very much, or you're eating even the wrong kinds of foods, the kind of foods that keep insulin up, insulin holds the fat in the fat cell and doesn't let it out.
What raises insulin, independent of any other metabolic hormones, what raises insulin is carbohydrate, starch and sugar, pure and simple.
Isn't that interesting? Pure and simple. Carbohydrates cause insulin to rise, and insulin rising is the beginning of inflammation and all the diseases that we have today of diabetes, Alzheimer's, ADHD, brain cancer, neurological diseases, heart disease, all start with inflammation, and that starts from high carbohydrate diets. So the low-fat, high carbohydrate diet is killing us. You are what your food ate. This is something that when I realized this is what I needed to know, is to pay attention to every single thing I put in my mouth. I needed to know the source of my food. I needed to know what the nutrient qualities and toxins were of that food, because whatever is in that food is going to be in me. And being 62 now, and not having an owner's manual, I'm having to rebuild one, but I'm having to reclaim my health and really learn to take care of my body in the best, most conscious, intentional way I know of. And I feel like what Jan and I have done we're just discovering what a lot of people like Dr. Carpenter teaches and what's in her practice. I just want to share this with you, everybody, to save you all the time, because for me, I have rolled it feels like the hands of time back 15 years to regain my body. I never thought I'd ever see my 34s or 33 genes again in my life. You know, I was thrilled if I could just get to 36s when I was just a few years ago in 40s and weighing about 250. But we've done all these different models, and when I started to realize how important it was to understand what is in our food will be in us, and the longer the shelf life it has, the longer it has life in your body. Okay? So we want the foods that destroy the quickest, because they're going to be the most nutritious, and what we want is the most nutritious, not the most tasteful. But you'll find out that it actually is the most tasteful. When you eat grass-fed beef and you've eaten it slow, and you had it grilled, and you're eating it medium rare, oh my God, it's orgasmic. So you're actually eating more nutrition. You're just getting away from these manufactured salts and sugars that we've been addicted to. We have to detox. We have to go into a food rehab to be able to get our bodies right. Here's one of the things that we want to know. In our food, here's the question we ought to be asking ourselves. Are you eating petroleum fertilizers, herbicides, pesticides, antibiotics, growth hormones, GMOs, genetically modified organisms, genetically engineered crops, or frankenfoods? Are you eating any of these? This morning for breakfast? Last night? Have you had any of these this week and not know it? Yes, these are in our foods. These are in everything. This is why our foods are so contaminated. Cheap food is too expensive to be eating because it sends you on a path to the hospital. It breaks down our immune system. It breaks down the way all of our organs are meant to function by eating cheap food. So we got to understand that cheap food is way too expensive. Don't buy cheap. Don't get cheap on your body, because you are in charge of your own health. No doctor is in charge of your health. Only you and I are in charge of our own health and our own bodies. And nobody can know more about our bodies than we can, if we will listen to them and become intuitive with them. We want to learn to eat our meds and our vitamins in our food. So we want the highest quality food that we can get to eat our meds and our vitamins. Think of that as a concept. That's something that Jen and I have been living by, of eating our meds every night, very consciously and intentionally. Now, this is going to deal with a new area of science called epigenetics. And it is the most cutting edge. It's been around 15 years maybe, something. It first started coming out. And about 10 years ago, you started hearing some more cutting edge people. If you want to learn about it, Google Bruce Lipton. Watch a YouTube video, The Biology of Perception, because there's one thing we've learned about it, and Dr. Mark Hyman talks about epigenetics a lot in all of his books. He's the head of functional medicine in this country. But I'll just go through real quickly about what we've learned from epigenetics, is that whatever we eat, the food that we put in our body is information, and it talks to every one of our cells. And basically, our cells have on switches and off switches. This is what we've learned about epigenetics. So we're flipping on different cells for either health or for disease. Everybody has cancer in this room. Every one of us have cancer cells. What flips those cancer cells on and what turns them off? This is what epigenetics is talking about. Our food talks to our cells and our genes. We're flipping the switches. We're turning these genes on and off all the time. 95% of all diseases are epigenetic. That doesn't mean that they're genetic, passed down. That means that we're turning the switches on and creating the diseases in our life. 95% of all diseases are epigenetic. So we've got to quit turning them on. And we're turning them on unconsciously. How many people here want to be a mother and want to have children? Just think about this. Or if you've been through that, or you've got someone in your family that does, this becomes so important because when you have been ingesting this food, you have been turning on switches, and it doesn't show up as much in your body as it does in the second generation. It's 4 times greater. The effects of what our grandparents ate is 4 times greater on the second generation, on the grandkids. Wow. 4 times. You're passing these silent diseases, killers, on to your grandchildren. That's what's going on. We know this from epigenetics. That's why this is so important. Now, not only does our food help us rewrite our genes, so do our perceptions of our environment, our beliefs. It's how we perceive our reality. If we think we're a victim, then that's rewriting our genes. We're turning on the bad stuff in us. We're getting into that toxic belief system. If we're in constant flight and we want to turn around and fight, or if we feel we're in a toxic relationship or in a toxic work environment, we're actually turning on, rewriting our genes. This is what's so important. And the toxins in our environment rewrite our genes. This is what we've learned from epigenetics. Our food, our beliefs, our perceptions, and our physical environments all are factors on turning on and turning off our genes. Every time I hear somebody talk about, well, did your parents have heart disease or not? Guess what? 100 years ago, at the turn of the century, there wasn't much heart disease at all, and there wasn't much cancer. It wasn't even taught in medical schools in 1900. It was only 2% of the population. So we're talking about going back 2 generations to see if there's any markers of heart disease? No. Most of it has been coming from the introduction of these new man-made foods that are highly toxic. We need to go back into the diet and really realize that that's the #1 biggest cause, and the other epigenetic factors here. And that's really because this can be reversed by turning on the right genes. We want to be equalitarian. In other words, buy quality. Don't be cheap. Buy quality food. Get the most nutritious. You don't want the cheap eggs. You want the most expensive eggs in the store. You don't want the cheap beef. You want the most expensive. Now, let's say you're on a budget. How can I make that work, Jimmy? Good. It's real simple. Buy whatever's in your budget, but buy that quality. You only need 4 to 6 ounces of protein every day, maximum. That's all you need. So buy the grass-fed beef, but just buy 2 ounces of it. That's all you can have, because that's medicinal. And save it and make it and stretch it out. You don't need a lot. We've been overeating. Be a qualitarian. Buy quality food. Now, how many of y'all know this, that your body is a hybrid car? Did you ever learn this? Did your doctor ever tell you this? It's in the manual on page 78. Your body is a hybrid car. What does that mean? You have 2 energy sources that you can burn. You can either burn fat or you can burn sugar. Sugar meaning carbohydrates. Those are our 2 choices. We either burn fat or we burn carbohydrates. That's all we really burn. This is Dr. Kate Shanahan, one of our go-to doctors. She's just brilliant. She's written the book, Deep Nutrition, Why Your Genes Need Traditional Food and Food Rules. She's the nutritionist for the Los Angeles Lakers. Here she is, just telling you about sugar.
I want to be clear about one thing. When we're talking about carbo loading, since carbohydrates, really whether simple or complex, get broken down into sugar in your bloodstream, and are absorbed into your bloodstream as sugar. When we say carbo loading, what we really should be saying is sugar loading.
Carb loading is sugar loading. Carb loading is sugar loading. Some become sugar really fast. Your grains, your sugars, your processed foods, they become sugar real quickly in your body. Slower carbs are your vegetables and some of your lower glycemic fruits, and they don't become sugar for quite a while, but they still turn to sugar too. Burning carbohydrates. What do we really need to know about this? They all turn to sugar in our body. Only carbohydrates will spike your blood sugar and cause your insulin to rise. Now, why is that important? If we're not diabetic, we don't think about insulin too much. How many of y'all have heard about cholesterol being bad? Okay, cholesterol is not really bad. Matter of fact, cholesterol is essential for our body. 25% of all the cholesterol body is in our brain. You know what our brains are made of? Fat and cholesterol. Fat and cholesterol. Do you know what builds our brain cells and how we grow new brain cells? Oh yes, we always heard that we couldn't grow new brain cells after we were 18. But guess what? We're growing new brain cells all the time, or we're killing them off by the foods that we're putting in our body. And the way we grow new brain cells all the time is fat and cholesterol in our diet. Saturated fat, no less. Cancer can only live off of glucose, which is carbs. That's why when somebody has a cancer, doctors put them on a ketogenic diet, meaning a fat-based, fat protein-based diet, and getting the carbs out of their diet. All sugars and other carbohydrates, because they have to do that to starve the cancer. This is something from Dr. Joseph Mercola. We're eating 60 pounds more grain and 30 pounds more sugar and sweeteners than we did. That's every year than we did in 1978. Now, you don't think that that's not having, because all that grain, 60 pounds of grain, that all becomes sugar. That's basically 90 pounds of sugar that we're putting in our body, and no wonder we have epidemic diseases going on. This is the generation the kids that coming in today are going to die before their parents do because of this contaminated food that we have. So how do you become a fat-burning machine, and what's insulin got to do with it? What I'm going to show you is not scientific at all. I just made this up because it's the way it makes it simple for me to understand it. So this is completely a metaphor, okay, what I'm going to show you. When you eat sugar, carbohydrates, your blood sugar goes up, and then we have to secrete insulin to help regulate the blood sugar. And insulin is like a door, okay? So as insulin goes up, because what makes insulin go up? The food you put in your mouth, the sugars you put in. So as insulin goes up, it's like a door is raising, because you're telling your body, okay, we're going to burn carbohydrates now. So we eat more carbohydrates, and what that insulin does, it locks off behind this door is fat. All your fat stores you cannot access. So when you're eating foods that cause your blood sugar to go up, you're telling your body you're going to burn sugar, you're going to burn carbohydrates. So you can't burn your fats with insulin up. So all the excess carbohydrates that come in our body that we put in through our mouth, with the insulin, the door up, the fat stores are closed off, whatever is left over gets shoved back behind the door and becomes more fat. So sugar, all carbs convert to sugar. Excess carbs that cannot be burned off get stored as fat. And so that's how we get fatter. So guess what? How do we bring insulin down? Well, you do it every single night when you go to bed. When you go to bed and you're not eating, your insulin starts to come down, and by the time you wake up, many times you're already in the fat-burning mode. And then what do? You rush to get some orange juice, you rush to get a bagel, some oatmeal, and you just, boom, put insulin right back up in the morning and shut off the fat-burning machine, because now you told your body we're burning carbs. So, what do? You eat fat. When you eat fat and protein, what happens to insulin? Oh, there's just a little modulation. But it's not spiking to close off your fat stores, because basically the food is information that you're putting in your body, keeps insulin down, keeps the door open. The door is open and you're a fat-burning machine as long as you keep eating that fat and that protein and slow carbs where it doesn't get the door to close. You get sugar, door goes up. Keep sugar out of your diet, keep processed foods out of your diet, the door comes down. You want to be a fat-burning machine all day long? There it is. Make your diet high in fat, high in protein, and low in carbohydrates. This is Mark Sisson's carbohydrate curve, and this is a really interesting thing. If you will notice here, this talks about how many grams to eat. There's 4 calories in a gram of carbohydrates. If you want to gain weight, all you have to do is eat over 600 calories a day in carbohydrates, and you'll start gaining weight, okay? And if you want to maintain effortless weight management, eat under 150 grams, which is 600 calories a day of carbohydrates, and you're just on self-sustain mode. You want to lose weight, drop it down to under 100. You want to really lose weight, drop it down to 50 to 60 grams, which is 200 to 240 calories a day of carbohydrates. Pretty simple. A lot more important to count carbs than it is to count calories. Eat what you are. What does that mean? Eat what you are. Well, let's see. I'm protein and I'm fat and I'm cholesterol. Oh, eat what you are. Protein, fat, and cholesterol. I'm not carbohydrates. What are carbohydrates? Carbohydrates are like kindling. They're a real quick burn fuel, but it burns up real fast. It's like putting twigs on the fire. So you kind of, if you eat carbohydrates, if you notice every 2 hours you start to get hungry again, you got to keep fueling the carbohydrate engine. So that's what you want to get away from, this incessant cycle of eating, because if you eat fat and protein and predominant fat, you go 6-8 hours without being hungry. You know, I remember always living that way, and it feels remarkable to be able to regain my body to where I'm never hungry now. Wow, never hungry. I mean, this is how it works. So eat what you are, and the last one is here, you will be saved by your own pots, pans, ovens, and grill. Okay, what does that mean? Cook. Cook for yourself. Don't let the corporations cook for you. Cook for yourself. Don't buy packaged meals any place. I don't care if it's a Whole Foods or any place. Buy the ingredients. Make your meals. Don't buy your meals. Okay, that's what that really means. We have to learn to cook on medium heat. Cook things slow, and they are absolutely divine. Steam your vegetables a little bit. Oh my gosh. Helps your digestion. Break it down. Oh, it's just, once you start eating this way, you feel so good you could never go back. You start to feel real food in your body. What am I talking about? Being a clean fooditarian. Oh, it's just a name. What is a clean fooditarian? Eat clean food only. Yeah, but what does that mean? Eliminate the bad carbs, fats, and proteins, and increase the good fats, proteins, and carbs. Okay? We want to eliminate the bad stuff and increase the good stuff. That's pretty simple. But Jimmy, what is that? What does that look like? What does clean food really look like?
Well, to find out, you'll have to go to part 2 of You Are What Your Food Ate, Eat Clean, Get Healthy on YouTube under Jimmy Langkop Seminars. Video production by Black Olive Media of Dallas, Texas. Editing by Jimmy Langkop. Oh, that's me. Recorded February 16, 2014 at Unity of Dallas. For more information, you can go to youarewhatyourfoodate.com or jimmylangkop.com. See you on part 2.